Hello, this is Sergio Morero, and we're here with the next episode at RBL1 Live with our next founder, Carolina Reis Oliveira, who is CEO and co-founder of OneSkin. Thanks for joining us tonight, Carolina.
Thanks so much for having me, Sergio.
Yeah, I'm really excited to dive in to give a little sense of Carolina's background. She's a founder and biotechnology entrepreneur. So she studied biochemistry and got her PhD. She studied at the Universidad Federal de Minas Gerais, and then also went to Rutgers University, where she studied stem cell research and tissue development. And she's going to talk about how she applied that to entrepreneurship. Thank you for joining us today and sharing more of this journey. And then also for the audience, she's raised over $7 million, $7.5 million for her venture so far. And I'm excited for her to share with the aspiring entrepreneurs how she achieve that. So thanks again for joining us. And if you can share with the audience, so we'll kick it off. What is OneSkin?
Sure. Yeah, thanks again for the invite. It's a pleasure to be here today. So OneSkin, we are a longevity company. We've been researching the science of aging for almost 5 years by now. And our goal is to develop products that target the root cause of aging. And our first product is we launched earlier this year, is what the product that you guys are seeing. It's basically a cream that contains a proprietary peptide that helps our skin cells to repair damage, so we can extend the health of our tissue, the function of our skin, and also to improve the appearance of our skin. So basically, we want to allow people to stay healthy, look younger as they grow older. There's a lot more packed in the science, but basically this is an overview of the company. And the long-term goal is really to develop more products that will, help all of us to age in a very good health, have more years that we can enjoy and less years with diseases.
Amazing. Definitely a movement in the anti-aging, like thinking of aging as I've heard aging as a disease, right? That can be treated. Some speak of it that way. Do you view it that way? And what are your thoughts on that positioning of aging?
Yeah, that's a very interesting point, because there's a lot of discussion if we should, classify aging as a disease. But if we stop and think, aging is the main risk factors for most of the diseases that we are trying to treat, right? So as we grow older, after our 60s, the chances that we have to develop, chronic disease, degenerative diseases, and cancer, they increase exponentially. And if you look, the common risk factor is basically, your age. So I'm not in favor exactly of, classifying as a disease. I'm in favor that we should have clinical trials to target aging. And the problem that right now FDA needs to, have aging as a disease to allow a clinical trial. And that's one of the reasons that we start with this cosmetic route, because it's a safer route, it's regulated, and there is, a huge interest, from the market for products that are really efficient in terms of, tackling aging with scientific evidence.
And can you talk a little bit about who's your ideal customer that's purchasing your product from OneSkin?
Yeah, very interestingly, but also expected, our main early adopters, they come from the longevity community. So this includes like biohackers, but also people that really want to optimize their health in general. So people that, take care of their diet, they look what kind of food they, are ingesting, what kind of ingredients they are putting in their bodies. They are educated. They like to understand a little bit behind the product. They just don't buy anything without really kind of analyzing. So in general, they are more, more critical, and they are interested in the science behind. But in general, we have seen, so our main consumers, they start like around 30 years, because it's when we feel, aging hitting you harder. But it really goes, over like 65 years. We have like customers that are 77 or 80 something. And all of them, they want to, live their best lives. Like they want to look younger. They want to feel good about the way that they look. And they are trying, everything to keep their health. In general, people that are, looking to stay healthy. And this means like internally and externally,
That's great. What led you to pursue a PhD in the biosciences area, focused on stem cells and tissue development?
Sure. So when I started studying science in college, I always wanna focus on a specific field that I could see a translation to people, So I was always interested in this area of stem cell biology and tissue engineering, also genetic engineering, because I could see very clearly the potential application of that type of research. So there was a potential, to cure disease, by transplanting stem cells, or to replicate human tissues in the lab to understand how drugs work, in terms of toxicity, in terms of efficacy. One of the initial applications that we focused early on was to grow human skin in the lab to replace animal testing. So really to kind of, improve the ethical aspect of, the cosmetic industry and not testing animals anymore. So there was so much going on in that area that I really want to be part of that movement. So I want to help that translation, coming from academia to the market. I always was, driven about using science to improve, people's health. And I saw that this area of stem cells and tissue engineering could have an enormous impact, in our society. So.
Can you share a little bit more about that? It sounds like you are, you're going into a beachhead market, right? You're using it as a skin product, but you keep alluding to the broader impact. Can you, what is that impact? Like, where do you want to utilize the technology of OneSkin in other areas to help people?
Yeah, so basically how, maybe I can share a little bit of the story or the background of OneSkin. So we started initially, as I said, growing skins in the lab to replace animal testing. Eventually, we moved to the US. We relocated to the US in 2016 to join IndieBio. That's a biotech accelerator. And it was very helpful because basically in Brazil, the biotech ecosystem was not very strong and very supportive, for entrepreneurs and startups at that point. And in the bio, we found the right, I would say, ecosystem in terms of, initial funding, support from, mentorship, and also help like entrepreneurs, helping scientists to become entrepreneurs. And in the bio, we learned that very fast that we needed to evolve our main value proposition. There were other companies already offering what we were proposing at that time. So we decided to focus on something that no one was doing, that we could be very, unique, and our differential could be very clear. And then by studying the market of, the industry of cosmetics, we saw that the anti-aging market is massive, right? And it's only growing with, the population getting older, but consumers are still very lost in terms of which products work, what's like pseudoscience, what's, snake oil, and how we could help, validate the efficacy behind the products that are really effective, if there are some products. So in this process, we start to study a lot about aging biology, because to validate if they work, we need to understand aging first, and then we could measure if they could reverse aging, mainly on a molecular standpoint. And on this process, basically, we learned that most products that are out there, they are not addressing aging itself. They are basically addressing the symptoms. So think a little bit of our healthcare system today. We go to the doctor when we have symptoms and the disease is already established, right? So it's kind of a little bit late when we start to take action. And it's very similar with cosmetics anti-aging, because they try to make your skin to look like better, but they are not treating the cause of, the process that's really driving aging. And what we saw at that time is that a lot of other companies were starting out to basically tackle aging, from the root cause. So in the past 5 to 7 years, the science has evolved a lot, and we have basically we have understood better, the molecularly speaking, what's happening in our cells that leads to aging, and it's basically an accumulation of damage. So if we can prevent that accumulation of damage, or also remove the cells that are already damaged from our tissues, we can restore, health, and we can restore the functionality of our tissues, and we can prevent, disease to be established. So we decided basically to use this approach of, what other companies were using to target aging on a more, disease condition. We decided to focus on the same mechanism to apply to skin, so target skin aging by preventing the accumulation of damage, or removing the cells that are already damaged. And then we found, by doing screening and testing different compounds, we found one compound that can do that very efficiently. So this is a peptide. Peptide is a small piece of a protein. And we formulated this peptide in a cream. So when you apply the cream, basically this peptide will penetrate and you will help your cells, to be more efficient in repairing damage. So basically, these peptides can be applied, to other disease type of condition, or systemically to, address other tissues. But this requires a more, I would say, rigorous process of, testing and safety studies, because this is an FDA regulated product, and it's very different, the route of, bringing it to market if you compare to cosmetics. So, but we are doing this in parallel. While we have our cosmetic product, we have, all the other experiments being developed to attest the application for other tissues and even, systemically. So we can all
amazing. So you're making the fountain of youth for Carolina's making the fountain of youth. They'll use OneSkin to rejuvenate all their tissues. But taking a step back to that's amazing. So you went to university to focus on studying this. What did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? You said, I'm going to go in and I'm going to turn this into a business. Like what was that the case, or did that happen when you were in your studies? When did that journey begin for you, the founder journey?
Yeah, I was finishing my PhD. And I've seen my brother that's younger than me starting his own venture, and it was very interesting to see him, going from an idea to, building something that initially was very promising, and they initially they couldn't raise money. They almost like gave up, and they could overcome, and then eventually they built like such a beautiful project that is impacting a lot of people and improving our environment and the planet. So I could see how impactful that was, like the impact that we can create when we really have a clear purpose, and mainly when we align our values with our talent. And I didn't first, I didn't see myself in staying in academia, so I always want to do that translation, but I didn't know if I would do myself, or if I would join an industry, or something similar. But my brother was really an inspiration. My dad was also an entrepreneur, and seeing all this impact that we can create with our work, it was with was what really inspired me. And also I think a little bit of um, the freedom of like doing the things that we believe that are right. And of course this comes with the consequences, right? But also it's amazing when you are in this this stage that you have the resources that you would have in academia, but you have the freedom of doing so much more, as a startup. Like the pace is so different, the development time is like completely different and faster. So I could see that we could generate much more impact than if we would rely on other types of resources that basically regulate everything, and kind of put limits and boundaries. So yeah, and it's been super challenging for sure, but very rewarding at the same time.
What caused you to shift from building? I know you're from Brazil, and building in Brazil, and now you're in San Francisco. I know San Francisco is a mecca unto itself, but uh, what uh, what inspired the move, and why didn't you stay in Brazil?
Yeah, and to be honestly, I was not planning. I love Brazil. I was not planning to leave the country, but after 2 years with our, initial project there, we basically realized that the ecosystem was not ready for what we were offering in terms of, the market opportunity was not big enough, and the same for the investment opportunity. And we were seeing no perspective of keeping the company growing there. And when we had this opportunity to come to IndieBio, was basically our chance to keep the dream alive. So even though I love Brazil and my family's all there, and I came here by myself without knowing like a single person, I didn't think twice, because I knew that if I, this would be my best chance to succeed. If I didn't find, those, opportunities here, it would be harder to find anywhere else. So, and that's why I decided to stay. And yeah, now it's been 5 years and I'm still here.
No, and I mean, going through that journey, you've can you talk about that transition? What helped you from? Sounds like IndieBio was very pivotal in your journey, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. But can you share a little bit more? You're a PhD student, right? Your expertise is very technical. What helped you bridge to be CEO and co-founder of a venture and help you raise $7 million in funding?
Well, I think what really helped in the end was my persistence. Because I came here totally I wouldn't say like completely disprepared. Of course, I had my technical, expertise, but initially, I had a very basic English. I didn't have connections here. I didn't have a network here. I knew very little or I had a very little entrepreneurial experience. So I hit a lot of walls, and initially it was very hard, trying to learn everything, like we needed to optimize our our technology, our value proposition. This includes like developing the science, and then also learning how to pitch and how to develop a business model, and everything about fundraising. So was really not giving up, even despite all the challenge that I faced. And of course, eventually you find people that you help along the way, right? There will be a lot of no's, but there will be some doors that will be open for you. And definitely I had some mentors, eventually I had advisors that helped me along the way. But yeah, in general was my I would say my determination of not giving up no matter what.
That's great. And how did you go about finding your co-founders?
Yeah, so my co-founders, one of them, we went to college together. So we know each other for since 2004, so 16, 17 years by now. And the other two I met when I joined this new lab where I did my master's and PhD. So basically I met them in academia, and I could clearly see that they were people that were thinking out of the box. They would first add different things to what we were developing, even in I would say in the technical part of the technology. And also people that I really liked, sharing my day, spending time, so that I could see as real partners. Yeah, and it's been 5 years by now.
And how did you think about balancing out or complementing your skill set as you were forming your team?
Yeah, a lot hiring people, right? So eventually so we spent out of the 5 years, we spent like 3 years, 3 years and a half basically developing the science. So initially our team was still very technical, so we were hiring more scientists. And last year, when we decided to go direct to consumer and build our brand, then we needed to find people that would help us with building a brand and marketing and the operations and everything around that. So a lot of it, from IndieBio, you start building, of course, your network, and you connect with several advisors, and and later on you look for people that already come with that expertise that will complement what we need.
Amazing. And your and the shift from so the shift also from not only from being a scientist to being a CEO, being in Brazil to being in the US, raising 7 million. So lots of accomplishments there. If you have any words of advice for other founders, let's say, whether they're in South America or Brazil. I know I used to be a founder out of the program Startup Chile. I don't know if you know the Startup Chile.
Yeah, I know. I have several friends that went to that program.
Yeah. So if you could share a little bit more, what are some words of advice or some tips and tricks that you did in making your transition to the US to help them?
Yeah, I love it's like putting yourself out there and talking about what you are doing. So the way that I connect to the US, I was I participated in two uh, accelerators in Brazil. So I was presenting in one of the demo days, and there was someone that was an investor from Europe, and he loved what we were presenting at that time, and he said, oh, you guys need to go to In the Bio. I'm going to connect you with my friend that's a partner there. And he made a connection, and that's why I said that I was not even thinking in living in Brazil. But when he made that connection, and I learned that there was a biotech accelerator only for biotech, I said, wow, that's where we should be. And basically we applied and we were accepted, and this was pretty fast. It was like in January we applied, in February we were accepted, in March I needed to be here. And so that's why I didn't have time to prepare myself to come here to the Bay Area. But basically, I mean, sharing what you are doing, don't feel that people are going to steal your idea. I mean, if it's that easy to steal, that doesn't make sense even for you to build. And also putting yourself out there, and start building your name. I think I passed through it here in the US, because when I arrived here, no one really knew me here, and I needed to prove why kind of I deserve to be here, if you will. So it's a lot about keeping sharing what you're doing and showing results, right? Eventually people will come to you, and things will start happen, and you will find the right partners. But I think the more you can build your network, rely on other founders or mentors or advisors, be part of a community, and yeah, offer some help. And also people will be always like most of the times I can say willing to help. So that's, yeah, don't be afraid of cold calling, or yeah. A lot of times it works, and that's eventually how some doors start to open for you.
Amazing. Yeah, I know we're coming up on time. I wanted to turn it back to you, and if you wanted to share with the audience what's next for OneSkin.
Yes, so we have other products in development on the pipeline. So because we are talking about skin health, it's not only about your face, your hands and necks, about your whole body. So we really want to treat, your skin, because we believe that the impact of your skin in your overall health. So we are developing a product for the body, and then we'll be also keep innovating in the products that we have, because we are basically on the intersection of the science that's being developed, and we are also now in contact with our customers, right? So we want to make that translation, and now always like bring the most recent advances in science that can be translated to our consumers to improve their health and extend their longevity. So eventually adding other products that will help our consumers to have a better quality of life and well-being. So this is all in the pipeline, and in parallel testing for more therapeutic applications, that this is kind of the long term for the company.
Well, thank you, Carolina. For those that are watching, this is Rebel One Live. We have CEO and co-founder of OneSkin, Carolina Reis Oliveira. Thank you for joining us tonight and sharing your story. And for those watching online, join us. Keep joining us for more CEOs and VCs. So thanks again, Carolina, for sharing your story tonight.
Thanks, Sergio.